Hey guys, today we're taking a look at some fancy third-party Joy-Cons. These come packed with some nice extra features including RGB. Huge shout out to Spawnwave for mentioning these, they're actually pretty cool. This video will be mostly a review of the Bing Bok RGB Joy-Cons, but I'll also be comparing them to the Hori Split-pad Pro, as they both share the same basic design and have a lot of the same features. If you want to pick either of these up, there'll be links to both in the description. Alright, let's start with what these both have in common. Both are oversized Joy-Cons with full-size buttons and joysticks. This makes both of these great options for people with larger hands. Both of these also offer two forms of turbo. The first one is your standard hold down the button for multiple presses, and the second automatically spams the button for you until you turn it off. Both of these have remappable back paddles. You can map this to any button, but only on that specific Joy-Con. So sadly you can't map any right Joy-Con buttons to the left Joy-Con, or vice versa. Both of these also replace the arrow buttons with a D-pad and offer significantly more defined bumpers and triggers. And finally, they're both super comfortable and support the Switch dock. The larger shape and different design will make your console look less like a Switch. This isn't really a problem, but it's worth noting. The Joy-Cons are a huge part of the Switch's iconic look, and you lose some of that style without them. And that's pretty much all you get with the Hori Split-pad Pro. Many other standard Joy-Con features were removed. There's no rumble, no gyro, and no Bluetooth, so there's no way to use them off the Switch at all. These new Joy-Cons feature much of what Hori's were missing. They're wireless and even come with their own grip. They feature gyro support and even adjustable rumble, and they even offer additional features such as supporting the Switch's official controller remapping feature. This means that through software you can remap any of the buttons, even cross Joy-Con. This feature is completely locked out on the Hori Split-pad Pro. You'll also get adjustable RGB with brightness control, 7 preset colors, and even a rainbow design. You can even switch to color changing mode, which will slowly transition between the different color options. As for downsides, I'd have to say these don't feel quite as premium as the Hori Joy-Cons. Now don't get me wrong, it's not like they feel like something you'd find in a bargain bin, but after using the Hori Joy-Cons and 8-bit controllers for a few years now, I was able to feel the difference. On the Bing Bok Joy-Cons, the buttons feel a bit mushier and less precise, and same with the triggers. The D-pad has zero pivot to it, and while all these buttons are responsive, they're just not as precise as I'd prefer. The joysticks are fine, and they're more styled like the Xbox One sticks, with a smaller top and gripping around the edges, and the tension's also a bit higher than that of the Split-pad Pro. So again, I'm not saying this is a bad controller. Personally, it's pretty good and definitely better than a lot of the third-party options out there, but I still think the Hori has the advantage when it comes to quality. Now we're going to switch to talking about just the Bing Bok Joy-Cons. Starting with some minor complaints. For one, the reset button on these controllers just turns them off. This will reset your turbo settings, but there's no option to clear everything, such as unpairing them, lighting, or mapping settings. Another minor annoyance is the LED light bleed. This comes from the player indicator light, and it shows up in handheld mode or on the grip. You can't always see it, but in color change mode or if the LED is off, it's pretty noticeable. Also, for some reason while docked, my LED rings never seem to turn off, even when my Switch is in sleep mode. And there's also the fact that you can't fully charge these Joy-Cons from your Switch in handheld mode, but they can draw some power from your Switch. It's weird, and we'll talk about this more later, but all you need to know for now is they won't die on you during handheld play. And my last complaint has to deal with how you wake these Joy-Cons. You'll need to hold the capture or home button for at least 3 seconds, and it's not a huge deal, but normal Joy-Cons wake with a single button press, so this seems a little unnecessary. I'm sure it can even get confusing for some, as the Switch will just say, press L and R to select your controller. And doing this will power up and connect a normal pair of Joy-Cons, but if you're using the Bing Bok Joy-Cons, this won't do anything. You'll first have to power on the Joy-Cons, wait for them to connect, and then press L and R to select them as your controller. These controllers are very comfortable in handheld mode or on the grip. However, the large size and odd shape makes them less comfortable in single Joy-Con mode, as the grip can sometimes get in your way. The gyro support works well enough for motion control games, but if you're playing one of the few games that have their own calibration, it can be a bit weird as these Joy-Cons don't lay flat. But once you set them up, they work just as well as normal Joy-Cons. These Joy-Cons support Bluetooth, so they'll work wirelessly. Once they're connected, they're very responsive, and I didn't have any noticeable lag or connection issues. And since they're wireless, they also come with a built-in rechargeable battery. It's rated for about 3 to 4 hours, but I tested it with the lights on and turbo running overnight, and I was able to get around 16 hours out of them, so very good battery life. When connected to the Switch, they communicate directly, so airplane mode will work just fine. And technically, your Switch can charge the Joy-Cons in handheld mode, but it won't charge them completely. It will start charging them, and I think it stops when your system battery starts to drop a bit, but I'm not sure. So just keep in mind, if you want to charge these fully, you'll want to dock your Switch. You can also charge these directly, as they each have a USB Type-C port. This port is also planned to be used for firmware updates down the line, but these controllers come with a fairly cheap USB cable. And since USB Type-C is a bit more picky than micro, if you need to charge this way, I suggest using a better quality USB cable, or really anything with a proper resistor built in. I'll have some good quality cables linked in the description. But yeah, overall these controllers are actually pretty fantastic. Sure, they lack NFC, True HD Rumble, and infrared, but other than that, they work just as well as the official Joy-Cons, but with a higher degree of comfort. The Split-pad Pro just has so many more compromises. The emissions were likely required by Nintendo to keep them from competing with their own Joy-Cons, but regardless, for most people I'd actually say the bin box Joy-Cons are a better option than the Horis. They're significantly more versatile and convenient. However, I have been using Hori products for the last few years, and I can tell you right now, their products pretty much last forever. So it really comes down to quality versus convenience. The Hori are officially licensed, built to last, and offer better quality buttons and D-pad, as well as larger paddles, and I think it looks a little nicer too. Overall, it's the more premium option. And if you already have a Pro controller, you already have something for docked play anyway. But I feel like for 99% of the people out there, the RGB controllers would just be better. Even if you leave the lights off, the fact that you only need one controller for a comfortable docked or a handheld play just means they're more convenient. Sure, they're not official, and yes, if Nintendo wanted to, they could block them with a firmware update. But I'm pretty sure that's extremely unlikely. And while the quality is not top-notch, it's definitely better than a lot of those mass-produced, rebranded Joy-Cons you'll find on Amazon or AliExpress. Overall, this is still one of the best third-party accessories I've seen in years. So what do you like better, the RGB Joy-Cons or the Hori? Be sure to let me know in the comments. I'll have links to both products in the description. Thanks for watching, and bye!